Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our subject, Business Requirements Modeling, and also welcome to our first lecture. So in the first 3 to 5 minutes, right, I will let anyone to ask any questions at this stage, right? And I'll get started at 5 past or 4 past 1 o'clock. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can ask me at this stage. I hope all of you have gone through the lecture slide and the resources on Canvas, I hope. So any questions anyone has at this stage? And also, please, when you join the session, make sure you use your UTS credentials so that you don't have to wait in the waiting room. So please don't join as a guest. Make sure you join with your UTS credentials. Thank you for that. Okay, the question, why do we need to go through the pre-work? So do you mean pre-work means the lecture slides? So I post the lecture slides on Fridays, Friday 6 p.m. So the reason for that is from next week, this week we will have only the lecture. Next week, our tutorial classes will start, right? And we have tutorial classes. From Tuesday to Friday. And the last class for the week is Friday, 6 p.m. So I will publish the weekly resources on Friday at 6 p.m. so that the students who will have tutorial classes on Friday will not be confused, and everyone will get the same opportunity to go through the resources before they attend the lecture and also the tutorial. Okay, so if you go through the slides, right, and the resources, it will be very helpful for you to be engaged in the lecture and also the tutorial. Okay, right, that was one of the questions. And okay, so there's another question. Does this subject include any programming? No programming. You are not going to learn about programs, and then you are not going to write any programs. This is all about modeling, right? That will include stakeholder model, process model, and object-oriented model. No programming or no programs are written. Okay, yes, the lectures will always be on Zoom, and then you will be able to find the link on Canvas in the Zoom section, right? And then the lectures are recorded as well. That was another question. Okay, so no problem asking questions. Okay, that was a question. Is the tutorial mandatory? Of course. So if you don't attend the tutorial, you won't be able to do the assignments, because 3 out of 4 assignments are group assignments. And each week we have to submit the weekly task and so on. Yes, tutorials are mandatory. And then you will be working in a predefined group, right? And then you have to contribute to the group work in order to get the marks. If you don't contribute, you will get 0 marks. Okay, so tutorial is mandatory. All the graded will wait only on no final exam. That's correct. No final exam. There's a question. All the graded will wait only on assessment 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there is no final exam. That is correct, Sanafan. So we don't have final exam for our subject. So all of them are assessment. So assessment 1 is the quizzes, which is individual. And all the other 3 assignments are group assignments. And you will be working in the same group for the 3 assignments. And you will start working in the team from the first tutorial. When you go to the first tutorial next week, before you go, you will have access to your group on Canvas. And when you go to the tutorial next week, you will be sitting in your team, and then you will start collaborating from day 1. That's how I have structured the subject. Okay, so one of you said, thank God, no programming. Yes, no programming in our subject, but the skills that you develop will be very, very helpful in your career. Okay, and some of my past students have shared how they have used the work they have done in our subject. Of course, this is a first year subject, right? They have how they have used the work they have done in our subject in order to secure her first internship. She did explain it. She did have a talk in one of the teaching and learning forum from our faculty as well. Right? Is that okay? So there's a question. Is attendance compulsory for the lectures? So the lectures will be online and recorded. However, the lectures will be interactive. I'm not going to read the slides. I will explain the concepts because the lecture topic or lecture discussions are highly related and linked to the tutorial task. So if you don't know what is discussed in the lecture, and then if you don't know what are the topics or what is the content of a week, you will be struggling in contributing to the tutorial task, right? And then that will be negatively reflected on your team contribution, right? On team collaboration. Again, that will have a negative impact on your final mark, right? So the weekly submissions are, even though group, but individually assessed. That means if you don't contribute, you will get 0 marks. And assessment 3 and 4, you will be evaluated. You will evaluate yourself and your peers, and you will be evaluated by your peers. So your individual mark for assessment 3 and 4 will be moderated by Spark Plus. So if you don't contribute well, that will affect your assessment 3 and 4 and also 2, because assessment 1 is an individual online quizzes. Okay, so I'm sure that that did answer your question. Okay, right.
In government.
Okay, there was, hi everyone, this is an automated message to let you know my extension. Okay, and okay, so a good question. Why is 1 hour instead of 1.5 hours? So we used to have, in the past, we used to have 1.5 hour lecture followed by 1.5 hour tutorial. And then later we changed it to 1 hour lecture and the 2 hour tutorial. So you can see the subject is what do you call practice oriented, right? And we discuss the content or the concept in the lecture with examples and explanation. We will apply those learning in the tutorial. So we give more time for the tutorial classes so that you will get hands-on training and you will be able to develop lots of skills that are needed in the industry. I'm more than happy to take 2 hour lecture, but that's how we have structured the subject as well. Yeah, I did already answer the question. Does this subject have a final exam? No final exam. So I already answered that as well. Are lectures mandatory to attend? So there is no attendance requirement, but you will benefit. You will see the benefit from attending the lecture. So that comes from my previous students as well. So I could see those who have been contributing, collaborating in the lecture, they were able to contribute well in the tutorial task, so that they were able to contribute well in their group assignment, and finally they got very good results as well. Okay, that's my answer to that question. And when are the tutorials again? Will they appear on the tutorial? You should have access to the tutorials by now. All the tutorials are at the maximum capacity at the moment. And the tutorials will start next week, not this week. Okay, so yeah, one of you said few words, what a relief. Okay. Okay, one of you said, yes, you love this, no programming and no final exam. Okay, yes, that's true. When was the last tutorial? When was the last tutorial? What do you mean? Last tutorial for each week? Last tutorial. We haven't started any tutorial yet. This tutorial will start next week. And okay, so how are teams determined? So I have this strategy to put people in a predefined group. So when you go to the first tutorial class, right, you have to complete a team contract. There you discuss with you start getting to know your team members and then open up the communication channel with other members, predefined members in the predefined group, right? And then you will define your goals and the guidelines for the team, and then you go from there. So I have strategies to form those predefined groups as well. Pre-assigned, yes. Yes. It is already provided in the subject information. I'll show you, but I'm answering those questions as well. To use quickly attendance, yes, the quickly attendance is for the tutorial attendance. So I'm not going to take quickly attendance in the lecture, but the tutors will take attendance in the tutorial. I will take 2 tutorial classes as well. So every week will be marked, right, using the quickly attendance system. And during the tutorial class, the tutor will give you the passcode to check in by yourself, self-check-in. Right? And also they will check whether everyone is there in the class as well. Okay, those who have marked present. That group is 5 people. Okay, so yeah, the maximum group size is 5. There will be no exceptions, I would say. And because all of the classes are maximum capacity of 35. So we'll end up having 7 groups of 5 in each tutorial class. Do we have another meeting on Friday this week? No. So the meetings means we will have 1 hour lecture every Monday, no Fridays. Tutorials are finished online or online? No online tutorials. All the tutorials are in person on campus. No online tutorials. Yeah, of course, I'll be here at the end after the lecture as well if you have any questions. Okay, so the lectures are recorded and you should be able to access the recording right after I have completed it. So it is recorded and then automatically published on Canvas. Okay, I'll show you where you can find the recording as well. Okay, and so for the lecture recording, I don't have to post it after, but when you go to Canvas, Zoom section, you should be able to get the recording. I'll show you where you can find it. Okay, that will happen automatically. I already answered that. You will be working in a predefined group. So not own group. So when you go to the first tutorial class, before you go, you will have access to your group details. When you go to the tutorial class, you'll start communicating, collaborating. Yeah, predetermined. One of you have answered. How are grades composed? Grades composed, what do you mean by that? So there are 4 assessments for the subject. How are grades? And then 3 of them are group assignments, right? Group assignment, but individually assessed. 3 and 4 will be moderated by Spark exercise, and the weekly submission. If you don't contribute, you won't get the mark. Okay, other quizzes? No, the quizzes are, okay, so the quizzes are not due during the tutorial class, no. So that we will have 5 quizzes. So those quizzes will be in week 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. So on those weeks, you will have access to the quizzes from Thursday to Sunday, so that you will have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days to complete that quiz. Okay, you are given that opportunity, and also you are given 2 attempts. Okay, so the students liked it, so I am keeping it because my students' voices are heard. Right? They like that approach, and then I am keeping it. Okay. No, you don't have access to the group details now, no. Though still the the students might change the tutorial classes, but you will have access to the group details before the first tutorial. That is before your next week tutorial. Tutorial location, you should be able to find in the UTS timetable planner. So there was a question, where can we find the tutorial location? Please go to our UTS timetable planner, and then you can check it. And also that should be in your timetable. If you have any other question, ask me at the after the lecture. Yeah, on your timetable, yes. Yeah, thank you. Some of you have already answered. Yes, yes, you have answered. Thank you for that. Yeah, I had answered that question. Yes, I answered that question. No, the group work individually. For example, as I said before, and many times, so the weekly assessment, weekly task, if you don't contribute, you will get 0 marks. And for assessment 3 and 4, right? So your marks will be moderated by spark factor as well. No, nothing is due this week. No, nothing is due this week. Okay. Yeah, I already shared that the weeks for the quizzes. Yes. Okay, so that's it. Right. So now we'll get started, and I'm going to share the slides. Okay, I'm sure all of you can see my slides. Right. So this is our first lecture. Welcome to our first lecture and the agenda for today. I already welcome you all, right? And introduction to the subject. I did explain the assessment, but I'll go through the subject learning outcome very briefly, and also the subject introduction. I know they are provided on Canvas in the subject information section, which is different from previous semesters, right? And then we'll get started with introducing our subject, and I will talk about the things that we are going to discuss over the semester in our subject. Okay, so overall, that's the agenda for today. Right, so you already have seen this staff page for our subject, right? And we have 9 tutors, and including me is 10. So that means I'll be taking 2 tutorial classes, and my colleagues 9 more. Okay, and then in total we have 15 tutorial classes. So you know I'm the subject coordinator and also the lecturer, and then I'll be taking 2 tutorial classes. And also you can see my brief bio on Canvas as well. Okay, so you already know my name. In 30 seconds, I will introduce myself. And I'm involved in this subject for a while and for a long while. And then I know how the subject has evolved. And every semester, based on our experience with the students, our experience as staff, with the student experience, I update the resources, and then I update the assignment, and so on. So your voices are heard, right? And also, I do that. And I have earned my PhD from UTS, and master's from Sydney Uni, and chartered engineering from UK, and then other qualifications as well. So in addition to my teaching and research experience, I do have industry experience that I'll be sharing across the semester. Very brief introduction. Right. Okay, so I will answer other questions at the end, guys. Okay, at the end. So you know BRM, right? Please remember, it might look like those who have gone through the resources and also the subject information, we call it subject information. You might think that this is context heavy and no application, but when you start working on the task and then when you start discussing the concept, you will see this subject will provide you hands-on lectures and the tutorials where you do things to understand the concepts. Don't just memorizing the concept and then do something else later on, but hands-on training you will get. Okay, for that one, you must be prepared to ask questions. So as ITIS professionals, you don't just rely on the information that you receive or that you hear or that you see. You have to ask a lot of questions to verify and evaluate the information that you get to apply in your field of practice. And you should be up to date as well. That is our ITIS field. Please remember that. So hands-on skills and hands-on training is really important. Okay. And the subject learning outcomes, I know you can read, but I wanted to highlight. We have three main subject learning objectives. So the first one is about the social responsibility, of course. When you're developing a system, software system, so you have to make sure, right, they are safe to our community, and then you take the responsibility to the society as well. Okay, and also we'll be applying number of analysis and design techniques to model mainly the system requirements and the user requirements. So once you have completed our subject, you should be able to apply this learning in your career, right? And also you should be able to document all of the requirement specification. So for that one, we'll be using an agile approach, right? And also communication and reflection is important as well. So those who have gone through the subject information might have noted in our second assessment, right, you have a reflection component. So you will receive the feedback on your assessment, and you will get the opportunity to implement the feedback within our subject. So last semester, I've been working on a number of research projects, right? And last time I did the survey, and then students, those who have participated, right, mentioned explicitly in our subject, they have used the feedback, right, to improve their future assignment. Okay, so you can see the importance of receiving the feedback and then implementing the feedback within our system that will enhance your professional skills as well. Right, so you already know this assessment. There are 4 assessments, online quizzes, weekly activities, part 1 and part 2. So part 2 is the reflection component. So the weekly tasks are group, but the reflection is individual, right? So based on the feedback that you receive for your group work, as individual, you will write the reflection. You are given 2 simple questions for the reflection. I'll get into that later on, right? At least next week. And the third one is the requirements analysis report. That is worth 20%. And the last assessment is 30%. So you can see. First one is individual, all the others are group and individually assessed. In short, you already know. So some general reminders. Yes, I will release the weekly content on Friday at 6 p.m. right? And for the weekly task, you will receive the feedback at 3 p.m. of the current week. So you will have the first tutorial in week 2, right? So you will submit by the due date. For each class, you have different due dates based on the day and the day of the tutorial, right? And then you will receive the feedback for your weekly submission on Tuesday of the current week. For example, you will submit your tutorial 1, that is week 2 submission, right? In week 3. Sorry, not week 3. So you will submit your first weekly task, right, by end of the following day. And then you will receive the feedback for that submission the following week on Tuesday. For example, so next week, those who have tutorial classes on next Tuesday, right, you will submit it by end of Wednesday in the same week. And then you will receive the feedback on that submission on the following Tuesday at 3 p.m. So that every single one, right, in the whole subject, the entire subject will receive the feedback at the same time, so that each of my students will get the same learning experience. Okay. For the queries, if you have any queries, yes, you can reach out to me via email. And also, if it is not a specific or individual nature, you can share it in the Teams general channel as well. In addition, I provided this optional weekly drop-in session that will start from week 2, right? You can drop in, that is not mandatory, so that you can get additional help with any subject-related queries or assessment and so on. That's another opportunity you are given as well. Okay, this is online. Right? Okay. Any questions at this stage, guys? Any burning questions? Before I will read the rest of the questions in the chat later, but at this stage, if you have any burning question, just let me know. For 10 seconds, I'll wait for 10 seconds and then I'll be moving on. Yeah, thank you. One of you said, stop being so entertaining. We should be focusing on the lecture. Thank you. All good. Okay, thank you. And also, remember another thing I have to remind you, your chat messages are recorded. So make sure you post appropriate and relevant messages. So please do not post any inappropriate messages or irrelevant messages, wasting your time. Just a reminder, guys. Okay, right, everything up. So now I wanted to share some of the feedback from students to show you how you can plan your studies and your learning and your documentation from the beginning. So as I said before, number of my previous students use the work they have done in my subject, in addition to other subjects as well, obviously, right, to secure internship. For that, you don't just go and say, okay, I have done BRM and then I'll be able to secure a internship. No, you should be able to document things. Plan it from the beginning, right? So my previous students have appreciated the models that they have developed in our subject and how they have used those models and the diagrams to convince their employer to secure a first internship. Okay, please keep that in mind so that you will have a plan from the beginning. So you don't have to wait until the last minute to put things together. No, have that plan in your mind. This is what my previous student said about this subject. So have a plan, proper plan, solid plan. Then you will be very successful. Okay, so these are very few feedback that I have collected from SFS. So most of them, almost everyone was talking about the diagrams that they developed and then how those diagrams, right, or the skills have helped them to do things better in the later in their life, in the career, etc., etc. Right? And also they have mentioned the structure and the modules each week are well planned and structured. So I keep the structure, but every semester, that is my philosophy. Every semester, I update the resources to reflect the feedback that I receive and then reflect the changes in our field, etc. I do make changes, but the things I will keep as well. Right? And also the students appreciated the tutorial where they actually do things. So hands-on training. So I'm sharing this, guys, so that you will have a plan, right? This is not just to share the SFS. I'm not reading the whole SFS here, but I wanted to share some of them so that you will have a plan from the beginning. I hope that makes sense and then that helps. Okay, and also they appreciate the feedback that they receive because they are using it. So that was reflected in the survey. Student feedback. Tutor gives the feedback so that they can improve it. And also they can see the link clearly between the lecture topics that we discuss and the tutorial task and the assignment and also their future career and the work. They can see the link. Okay, so they said that. The classwork and so on. Okay, guys, so have this in mind so that you can have a plan and then you can plan it from now onwards. I hope this helps. And the things I have made changes to. So we used to have 6 to 7 p.m. Lectures. So my students didn't like it, right? They didn't like it. And then in the previous semesters, that was done by the timetabling. and I didn't have any control over it. But based on the feedback, I did have a special request to the timetabling, and then I got it in the midday, right? So, and also, yes. So in the previous semester, so the students have to submit their weekly submission 9 a.m. on the following day. So my again, SFS, yes, they would like to have it at the end of the day. I'm going to do that this semester as well, right? Even during the last semester, I did make changes based on the feedback. And then these are some other changes I have made for this semester as well. So even during the semester, I gather feedback so that I can implement those feedback to give the best learning experience to my students. So that's my approach. Okay. Yes, weekly tutorials. And this one again, this is one of them. So the feedback should be provided to everyone, not just one. Because in the previous semester, we used to give the opportunity for the students to form their own groups in the first tutorial, but the first group task is due in the end of first tutorial as well. So there were a few issues in receiving the feedback, right? Since the groups are not set before the tutorial on Canvas, when they submit, the person who submitted will receive the feedback, and then that person has to share the feedback with others, and so on and so forth. So I have considered that reason and also other reasons to put the students in a predefined group so that the collaboration can take place as soon as possible. And then the predefined group will give more responsibility to the students to get started, and then that will reduce social anxiety and so on and so forth. So I did a lot of research around it before I change this group formation from forming the groups in class in first week to the predefined groups as well. So I did a lot of research plus my student feedback, and then from this semester, you'll be working in predefined groups. So these are very few things that I would like to share with you guys so that you will have a plan from the beginning. Okay, guys, so let's move on to the content. I will have a quick look. I'm not going to go, okay, so I will come back to those questions later. Okay, right. So now we'll get started with the content. So our subject is business requirements modeling. First of all, what is a requirement, or what are requirements? We'll start with the definition, right? So this definition, even when you Google, you will end up seeing slightly different versions of this requirement, but these are some of the selected definition. Okay. Right. So the first definition, so what is a requirement? That is a condition or capability needed by a stakeholder to solve a business problem. So from the beginning, you can see the importance of identifying the stakeholders. That's the first step. And also in our subject, that is the first model that you are going to get started with, stakeholder modeling, using two main techniques. Okay. And also the statement of need that must be met by the specific product or service or the system. So we elicit requirements from stakeholders, right? And then you develop the system. At the end, you have to make sure the system that you have developed meet the requirements that you have elicited. That is about validation and verification. So you can see the flow from the beginning to the end, right? And different types of requirements. Again, when you look at the classification of requirements, you will see different versions of it, right? So the classification that you are going to discuss in our subject, there are two types of requirements: business requirements, stakeholder requirements, solution requirements, and the transition requirements. Most of the time, this solution requirement is referred to as system requirements. And then system requirement has three main kinds: functional requirements and non-functional requirements. We will discuss these two in detail in the coming weeks. right? For us, yes, these are the four main types of requirement, right? Okay, so I'm not going to read the definition, but I will we will look at the examples together so that you will understand what they are and how they are related. That is all. So in the lecture, remember, guys, I'm not going to read each and every sentence and each and every slide. No, that is not my focus. I will explain with examples, and then you will collaborate, and then we will be able to make engaging lectures so that you will be able to apply the knowledge that you gain in the lecture in the tutorial. That is important. Okay, right. What's the business requirements? Here is an example, right? We say we would like to automate our customer relationship management system so that we can offer better customer services. So this is very broad. Business requirements are very broad. Okay, so now from business requirement to stakeholder requirements. What do we say here? Bit more specific than the business requirement. Okay, so here we say we would like to have a mechanism to monitor the response time for each customer support request daily to improve the response rate. So do you see? This one is very broad. This one is more focused. Okay, so from the point of view of a stakeholder or stakeholder group. And then solution requirements or the system requirements. So these are all about the functionalities that you are going to implement or integrate in the system that you are developing, right? And there are two kinds. One is called functional requirements, and the second one is non-functional requirements. So these functional requirements are the must features of a system that you are developing. So when I say the system, can you give me anyone? Can anyone give me some example systems that you are familiar with so far? Anyone who have been using any system, software system?
Say like a transaction system?
Yes, transaction system or online ordering system. Anything else?
Microsoft Word.
Thank you. Learning management system, right? Canvas is our learning management system, student management system, patient management system, hotel management system, etc., etc. Okay, so for those systems, functional requirements are the must features, non-functional ones are the qualities that will improve or add some value to the functional requirements. We will discuss that in detail later on. Okay, guys, so that's our focus again. I'll go back. Thank you for sharing. Right, so that relates to functional and non-functional requirements. We will look at them in detail, and then you will know how to write those requirements and how to translate the user needs into requirements, and so on. We will discuss that. And then the transition requirement. What is that? So the user in our context, right, in the example that we have been talking about or looking at, the user must be trained to be able to use the system effectively. So if you are developing a brand new system, yes, the users should be able to use the system. For that one, you should have provided the training. How you transition, how the transition will take place from old system to the current system, or no system to the brand new system. We'll talk about it as well. So these are the four main kinds. Right. So that is just one of the classification. And this is another classification, right? Comes from Somerville. There's another important source that I use in my lectures as well. So what's the classification? Two kinds of requirements, user requirements and system requirements. So you can see the similarity, right? So now we are going to look at the readers or the users of different set of requirement specification. So when you say user requirement, that is self-explanatory, that comes from the point of view of the users, and those who will read the user requirements will be these people, including the system end users, client managers, and high-level people in an organization. But when you look at the system requirements, you can see they are more technical than user requirement. The software developers are involved in addition to other stakeholders. And for the system requirement, the client managers are not there. So they are at the high level. So you can see who is going to be using different kinds of requirements. Is another slide. Okay, so now how we relate this business requirement, user requirement, and the system requirements. So based on the very simple example that I just shared, you can see this business requirement, user requirements, and system requirements are interconnected, interrelated. Right? So even though our main focus is system requirements and the user requirement, we won't be isolating those two from business requirements. Our main focus is this, but they are linked to the business requirements as well. Right. So the business requirements is more than the software system. Okay, please remember that, because that is very broad and that includes all of these elements. So business requirement will have, or will talk about people involved in the system, the processes, data, and software system, quality assumptions, and everything. So business requirements are much more than the software system itself. Please remember that. So again, I'm not going to read through this, but you should understand it. Okay? So, and even when you read it, they are straightforward and then you can easily understand. Okay, guys? And also this section, so everything that we discuss, you will practice in the tutorial, and then you will relate everything to the assignment, including the assumption section. In real life, when you're developing a system, you won't be given all the information that you need to develop the system, right? You will be making valid assumption, right? And then you will validate those assumptions that you have made by contacting the stakeholders involved, and then you go from there. So you will practice making assumptions for process model, data model for your assignment. So what I'm trying to say here, everything that we discuss in the lecture related to the tutorial tasks, which are related to the assignment and your future work and future career. Okay, so that's the first part of our subject. Business requirements, modeling. What's the modeling? Yes, that's an abstraction or a representation of a real world entity or a subject matter. Right? In different contexts, we use different kinds of model. In chemistry, in programming. Some of you said, oh my God, yes, that's a relief, no programming, but we use different models in programming as well, psychology, etc. So this will give you the different ways, right, that we use models in different contexts and different subjects. Okay, so we put everything together, right? What is business requirements modeling? So this business requirements modeling, our subject involved understanding the client's business problems and needs and develop a set of diagrams so that you'll be able to produce the best solution to a client. So that involves people modeling. We'll start with that. Process modeling, data modeling, and also object-oriented modeling. So we are going to go through all of these during the semester, right? And the next few slides will show you the reason for modeling, right? I'm not going to read through it, but when you read, you will understand. Those who have read already understood the importance of this modeling and how we can use this model in order to communicate your idea with your team members and also the other stakeholders and other benefits of these models. Okay, so I'm not going to read through that. Okay, here. So this is the first model that you're going to practice, right? So that is stakeholder modeling using two techniques. So the first one is the stakeholder register, or we can call it stakeholder list or stakeholder map. Number one. And number two is the empathy map. And again, when you Google, right, you will see different versions of this empathy map, different versions of the stakeholder register, but this is the template, or this is the structure that we use in our subject. So we'll discuss that in detail next week as well. And the next week tutorial is related to this stakeholder model. Okay, right. And the next part is the process model, right? So in the process model, we'll be looking at the process model at on 3 levels. We start with the context diagram. We will discuss this in detail. And this one is called level 1 diagram. And these ones are called level 2 diagrams. Diagrams, more than one here. Here, level 1, only one. Context, also only one diagram. So we will discuss this process model in detail. You will practice in the tutorial like others, and then that is related to your assessment 3. Okay, right. And then the data model. That includes the ERD and the data dictionary. Okay, we'll do that. Plus the object-oriented model. We will look at use case diagram, class diagram, sequence diagram, state transition diagram, and also we'll be looking at user stories, use case narratives, etc. We'll discuss them later. Okay. Right. Any burning one question? I can see I will read the questions in the chat later, but if you have any burning questions, a quick question, I'm happy to answer. Okay, we will discuss, yeah, I'm reading the last question. What makes the difference between level 1 data and level 2? So we will discuss that in detail later on, okay? I can take the whole lecture on that, but that's not the focus of today. Okay, guys, I'll go back. And I'm going to show you Canvas as well before we end the session. Okay, so in this slide, you can see the role of business analyst, right? And then I put this part of the subject description, which is available on the subject information section to show you how you can relate the things that we do in the subject to the industry. For example, the roles like business analyst, right? So these are some of the tasks carried out by this business analyst, and one of them is this modeling. So you can relate the things that we do in the subject to that role as well, in addition to other roles. Just wanted to show you how you can link it again. Okay. Right, and the other skills that you can develop. Yes, creative thinking. So for your tutorial task, you'll be working on one case study, right? And then you'll be working on another case study for assessment 3 and 4, right? And so creative thinking, creativity is always inspired. And even though all of you will be working on the same case study, the solution that you produce could be different, will be slightly different, right? Where you include your creative thinking and also integrate all your experience that you have so far as well, right? Of course, time management is really important. I can give you an example. So some students, yeah, last time said they were not able to complete the tutorial within the tutorial time. Some others were able to complete the tutorial task within the at the end of the tutorial time as well. So if everyone in your team has the best good time management and organized very well, you will have a best experience working in team and then improve your skills. Okay, that's important. Yes, you will be able to find and create the best solution, right, to the business problem. Already mentioned that. Of course, you already know this importance of communication skills. Interaction, yes, that's happening in our subject. And then you'll be using some tools. So not many tools, right? At least you'll be using diagramming tools. Any tool that you are familiar with, and then you will enhance the skills using that as well. So based on the experience so far, the diagramming tool that is very popular among my students were Lucidchart and also Draw.io and so on. Okay, right. These are some skills which are related to the skills which are related to the topics that we discuss in the lecture, and then that we will enhance in our subject as well. Okay, again, some techniques used by BAs. All of these we will discuss in detail later on. So these ones, interview techniques, survey, requirement workshop, observation, prototyping, they are different techniques that we can use to elicit requirements. We will discuss them in detail and you will role play them in the tutorial. And the modeling, we already discussed: stakeholder model, process model, data model, and object-oriented modeling. All right, this is summary. Okay. So the last, I would say the slide. So as a BA, for example, a BA project is a response to a change in the world. What is that? So you will generate best solutions, right, to the business. So that will definitely change the way the organization do their business. Yeah, that will have an impact on the entire world as well, right? And then there are other resources provided to you, and please have a look and then go through the resources for each week as well. Okay, guys. So there's a brief introduction to our subject and what is involved in our subject and how you relate everything that we do in our subject, yes, to your assignment, to your future career. Okay, guys. And then I will show you the Canvas, and then I will come back and then answer your question. And then I will read the questions posted in the chat as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share the Canvas site. I know most of you know, but as a reminder. Give me a second. Right. I'm going to share my Canvas page. Okay. So this is our Canvas page for our subject. This is home. You already know that. Okay. So home, you have all the updates and so on. And here, in the previous semesters, you have subject outline. But from this semester, you have subject information. Click that part, and you will see the details. Okay, so there are two tabs. Overview, where you can find the subject description, subject learning objective, teaching and learning strategies, and so on, right? And then the assessment. So this tab provides you with the details of each and every assessment. Okay. Right. Please have a read. And I already explained this in brief. Quizzes, yes, they are individual and they are due in week 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11, already provided. Weekly activities, you know, group assignment, but individually assessed. If you don't contribute, you will get 0 marks. And this one, assessment 3 and assessment 4, the individual marks are moderated by Spark. Okay, and then if you haven't completed Spark for assessment 3 and 4, you will lose. As individual, you will lose 5% of the achieved marks. So make sure when it comes to that time, make sure you complete the Spark as well, right? And also this assessment 3 and 4 has in-class presentations. Again, if you don't contribute or if you don't present, you will lose 5% as well. So I'm sure most of you have, I hope most of you have gone through this, but I wanted to say this and remind you from the beginning so that you will have a plan, right? A solid plan to contribute well and then grow as you go. Have a plan, guys. Okay? So until you wait and then regret, instead of that, have a plan from now onwards, at least if you haven't done it before, right? And the okay, home subject information and the modules. So you will have access to everything in the module section. So I'll show you the student view. Now you have access to week 1 resources and get started module. Welcome, how to be successful in this subject, detailed subject schedule. Yeah, you can see, yes, week 0, and then we are in week 1, right? What is the content and the assessment due? Okay, so you can see the tutorial will start from week 2 and go from here. Okay, so here you can find the detailed subject schedule, right? And also you will have access to other pages like, yes, staff information page. So all the staff information is provided on here, including myself. So subject coordinator, lecturer, and then tutor. I'll be taking two classes, and then the details are provided here. How you can contact, and then how you can get help. And also I put this in optional weekly drop-in session. And all the details of other tutors are here as well. This is my teaching team. Okay, guys, right. And then what comes next? Yeah, important guidance. Please go through that as well. And okay, this one. Some of you have done this, right? Get to know your peers online already before you meet your peers in your first tutorial. Please use this opportunity to get to know others and so on. Okay, so I used to check and then I will like the post to encourage the engagement and the collaboration. Okay, guys, so this is where you can find things. And also the Zoom here. You can access the Zoom link here. You don't have to go anywhere else here. So we are here today and then all the other sessions. So we have lectures only on Monday, 1 to 2. Okay, and here. After I finished my session, when you go to cloud recordings, you will see the recording here. Again, you don't have to go anywhere else. Everything is integrated and embedded on Canvas. Okay, guys? Do they all make sense? So some of you or one of you, a couple of you, ask where you can find the Zoom link for the session and where you can find the recording. That's where you can find the Zoom link and the recording. Okay, so before I scan through the messages or the questions in the chat, 30 seconds for anyone to ask question here. Okay, so I'm going to start reading the chat. Okay, I'll start from where I left. Good attendance. Some of the questions I have answered in the lecture anyway, I'll go through it. Okay, so one of you said, why does Canvas say there's another Zoom meeting on Friday? So there's no meeting, but I will double check. Okay, so the meetings we have is only on Monday, 1 to 2 p.m. I will double check anyway. That shouldn't be the case, but I will double check. Don't you? Yes, so you will be working in a predefined group. Yes, most of you said that. All of you know. Okay, I'm reading through the questions, and if I didn't answer yet, I will answer that question. Okay, so they're not there. Okay. Yeah, quizzes I have answered. Okay, yes. Okay, so while waiting, if you have any question, please ask, guys. Please ask. I'm just reading the question that you have, but if you have any other question, you can ask me as well. Okay. Yes, okay. Okay, yes. So as I said many times, guys, please be mindful and please be respectful to your peers and your staff and everyone. In academia, that is really important. And then please do not post any unrelated, inappropriate, annoying messages that could hurt other people. And then that is not acceptable by me and also the university. Please be very mindful when you share things. Some of you have already shared that with me, so make sure you don't post any irrelevant and not respectful things. Okay? Okay. Yes, and also please make sure I have shared lots of feedback I received from my past students as well. Think about it, right? And then look at the resources that we share and the work that we do, so that you will see the benefit of doing all of these concepts and then doing all of this work. Okay. I'm reading the, yes. Yeah, maybe some of you are sharing your ETA as well, 99.95. That's great. Great to know. Okay, most of them are, yes. Not that many. Okay, I'm reading. Do we have any assignment this week? No, no assignment this week. I said that. Thank you. One of you have answered that. Practice quiz, yes. So you can start practicing and your quizzes will be very similar to the practice quiz. Yes. There's no graded assessment due this week. No. No assignment or no graded assessment. Yeah. Yeah, the first assessed work is weekly activity, part 1 starting in week 2. Thank you. Thank you for the answer, Jake. No tutorials this week. The quiz is the practice quiz, not the marked quiz. Okay, so we did answer. Only practice quiz, yes. So you won't be swapping groups. So you'll be working in the predefined groups. So the slides, okay, the slides are there, but for the presentation, I have added a couple of other slides, including the reminders, etc. I can post these set of slides again as well. I have no problem with that. Up in Canada, yes, that's right. Quickly. Okay, so some of you have answered the question. That's great. I always encourage participation and engagement in the lecture and also tutorial. So the attendance won't happen automatically, but we will use our quickly attendance in the tutorial. The tutor will give you the code for you to self-check in. That is not automatic. Yes, you did that. Okay, thank you guys. You have shared the different example systems. Thank you for that. So the lecture slides are posted before the lecture on Friday. Already on Canvas. Okay, thank you guys. Okay. Okay, so some other, yes. Something encouraging is what should we aim to understand? What should we aim to understand before the next week? So the next week topic is requirements engineering. That will include stakeholder model in detail. So please go through the resources, right? Understand it and then ask questions in the lecture and also implement your learning in the tutorial. No, tutorials, in the tutorial, so don't wait until the tutorial to learn about the concept. No, when you attend the tutorial, you should have understood the concept and then start collaborating and contributing to the weekly task. However, as tutors, we will highlight, right? We will highlight few slides so that you will be reminded what you have done in the lecture, and then you will go from there. So the tutors won't be giving a mini lecture in the tutorial. No, do not expect a mini lecture in the tutorial. Okay. All right. Yeah, some of you have answered. Yes. Technical communication and more focused on modeling. Yes. And then one of the roles could be, you can think of is business analyst. Okay, so that one. Thank you, Sid. Okay, so I did answer. Yeah, I can't read the chat while I'm explaining, but I will give you some time at the beginning, like what I did today, and then I will go through all of the content, and at the end, I will look at the chat, and then I will answer. Okay, most of them now, thank you. Okay, that's good. Thank you, everyone. Okay, one last one, I think. Okay, that's great. Divya, I will do that. So keep some summary points in the lecture. I do that in the lecture orally, but if you want to put some summary points in the lecture, yeah, I can do that as well. Okay, I'm looking at it. So one of you asked, what are we expected to bring with us for the tutorial? Yes, bring your enthusiasm and the things that you have learned during the lecture in that week and this week, so that you will be able to contribute and collaborate in your weekly task. Yeah, as I said at the beginning, yes, you can watch the recording, but the online lecture, even though it is online, it'll be more interactive, right? And you will benefit from attending the lecture, I would say that. Even my students said that in the previous semesters. Okay, so if you have any issues with your, yes, Mikhail, if you are here, so I would say, please contact me via email if you have any individual questions. Okay, so if you have any individual question about tutorial or whatever it is, please reach out to me via email. If Mikhail, if you are here, please reach out to me via email. Yes, how we are going to use quickly. Yes, the tutors will show you how you are going to use. Okay, I'm reading some more. So how do you know who the tutor is? You will know before the tutorial class, before next week class. Yeah, the quizzes are open book. Quizzes are open book, and then you can do it in your own time with 2 attempts. Yeah, yes, the attendance is for tutorials. Yeah, if you have any specific individual question, reach out to me via email. The tutorial room should be shown in your timetable. Okay, so most of them are thank you. No. Okay, so please, Mahira, could you tell us once again what is our homework for next week? Homework, okay. So if you haven't go through the resources for this week, please do that. And also for next week, before you come to the lecture, please go through the resources, ask me questions in the lecture, and also please go through the tutorial task. You don't have to do the tutorial task, go through it, and then have have your own notes so that you can easily contribute to the team task in the tutorial. So in that way, you can prepare yourself. So, recording, yes, the recording I did show you. After I have end the session, you will be able to access the recording on Canvas in the Zoom section. Yes, you will be able to find out the groups before the class next week. That's correct. When you go to the class next week, you will have access to it. How do her email? What is her? It's me. So all the emails and all the communication provided on staff page on Canvas. Okay. Okay, guys. So that's all, I think, the questions. And so if you don't have any other questions, you have already shared, and then I did answer all the questions. I'll see you all next Monday at 1 p.m. in Zoom. So we'll have our online lectures in Zoom. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.